Hello everybody, welcome to AB Does Geography. This will be the last one, and this is the final advice I can give you for paper 3. Now paper 3 is a strategic game, okay? You can score really high marks on this, but if you bide your time and have patience and resilience, okay? So this is really about being determined to do it the way I am going to show you. So I'm going to talk you through a whole paper. It's on tropical rainforests and it's conveniently on an emerging economy country, okay? So I'm hedging my bets here that you may well get something like this, okay? Because last year it was the tiger and it was Canada. Okay, so this is the way the paper is set out. There are 5 questions worth 1 mark, which will be very simple: identify, define, or multiple choice. Might be looking at a graph. It might say look at figure 1, look at figure 2. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. You will have 6 questions worth 2 marks, so total 12 marks. They will be an explain question, so you must have a because, or this means that, or therefore. So you will need to give a reason and an explanation. So it will be give 1, explain why, or explain 1 reason. So you state the reason and then you explain why or what that means afterwards to get the 2nd mark. There's sometimes 1 question worth 3 marks, which will be identifying something from a source. So again, lots of interpreting of graphs and things like that. There'll be 3 questions worth 4 marks, which are exactly like the 2 markers, except now you probably have to give 2 reasons instead of 1. Okay, so that's 12 marks. And then you've got the 8 markers, which will be assess. And you have done a lot of them already. So what you are looking for is a well-balanced and developed argument. So you're trying to give 2 reasons for something or 2 factors and then decide which one is more important, and you start your last paragraph with the famous overall. Okay, you've got 4 marks for AO3, which is understanding and the connections to present an argument, i.e. the points you make, and AO4 is using skill to get evidence, so you need to quote from the sources. Then you've got the big 12 marker at the end, which scares everybody, but it's the easiest one of the whole lot. You will get 3 options about the country in the booklet that you can choose from. You need to choose what you think they should do, and you need to justify your choice using what you've learnt from the booklet. However, to get full marks, you must explain why you would reject the other 2 options. So you have got 4 marks for understanding interrelationships between place and process. So 4 marks for understanding that if they do one thing, the consequence will be this, or if they do that, the consequence will be the other. Connecting in climate change, biodiversity, the services that the biosphere provides, for example. AO3 for that argument, so presenting reasons for why one option should be chosen and why options shouldn't be chosen. And AO4 is for using accurate information to support your argument, so using what is in the source booklet. Okay, so you can pause me here if you want and go through that again. That's my most important advice, probably, until I get towards the end. Now on this slide, I've just given you a little recap quiz for you to do. So if you can answer those questions, then you're going to be okay for this paper that we're going to practice. So can you name 2 biomes? Do you know what the biotic parts of a biome are? Is that the living parts or the non-living parts? These are all your 1 and 2 markers. Can you name a good and a service provided by the rainforest? So remember, goods are things that you can eat, use, turn into something else, whereas the service was the idea of the regulating the atmosphere, regulating the hydrological cycle. Okay, what does a carbon sink do? So remember, it's absorbing carbon, gives out oxygen. What is a primate? A monkey. So all these key words. What is a liana? They're the vines that go up round the tall trees. Remember, everything is seeking light. Do you know what the nutrient cycle is? Are you visualizing right now the 3 circles and the arrows? Size of the circle, size of the arrow representing the size of the store or the flow. Can you explain why the rainforest is being chopped down? Did you remember that the main reason is for cattle ranching, which is directly linked to development and the growing demand for meat? Can you remember what CITES is? What does it protect? And that was the Convention Against the Illegal Trade of Endangered Species. And do you know what agroforestry is? So there is a way that you can use the rainforest in a sustainable way. Hopefully you could answer them. If not, go back and watch my video on rainforest review. Right, how to tackle the paper. You get 2 booklets. You will get the answer booklet, and then you will get a resource booklet, okay? And this is where you have to be really patient. It's only worth 64 marks. You get an hour and 30 minutes. So you need to think about how long do you spend answering the questions. When you go in the exam hall, if you look around and some people seem to be finished after 30 minutes or 45 minutes, it's because they haven't really looked at the booklet. That's not the right thing to do. You should be writing right to the end. And actually at the beginning of the paper, you should just be reading. It would suggest that because there's 64 marks on a paper, but you get an hour and a half, you've got loads of spare time, right? Because it's a minute per mark. So you are supposed to be doing something with that time. So for the first 15 minutes, you should really be looking at the resource booklet, or you could break that down into look at section A, answer the questions on section A, read section B, answer the questions on section B, read section C, and so on. So you could do it that way, or you could spend 15 minutes reading the whole booklet with your highlighter, getting an overview of what the big issue is in this paper. You will then spend 10 minutes answering the questions in section A, because it's only worth 10 marks, 10 on B, 30 on C. Those 8 markers are really important. They could cost you dearly if you don't do them. And 20 minutes writing your essay at the end, which you must plan. Think about your English papers. Why do you plan an essay for English but not for geography, for example? And then you've got 5 minutes to check your answers, and particularly your spelling, grammar and punctuation in question D, because it's actually worth 16 marks. So this is probably the most important page in the whole booklet, and it will give you the issue, okay? It will give you the big issue and the introduction, and these are the sort of statements that you can use later when you're answering your questions. So here we have Indonesia is the country that is being investigated, and the issue is there are conflicts over energy and the environment in Indonesia. So it's the 4th most populated country. It's an emerging country, but the level of development varies a lot across the islands. Population growth, industrialization and rising affluence mean Indonesia's energy needs are growing, so they need more energy to fuel their development. The tropical country is the world's largest producer of palm oil. It's a biofuel, okay? It's a biofuel. It also exports coal and has offshore oil reserves. So they've obviously got quite a lot there. Mining, coal and planting of oil palm have led to the destruction of the rainforest, which means there is a loss of unique biodiversity. So that's your introductory background. Remember what you know about tropical rainforests, where they grow, so along the equator, where they get all year rainfall and high temperatures. That's what oil palm needs. Oil palm is in loads of products. I mean, it's scary how much it's in, and it's not very sustainably grown, okay? But if you look at your shampoo and all sorts of stuff, it's in all sorts of things. There is widespread deforestation in Indonesia to plant oil palm. And they just burn the forest down with the animals and everything there as well. The Indonesian government encourages palm oil industry and mining because they want to develop, okay? And the government has passed a number of environmental protection laws, but they're not really enforced. Indonesia's got lots of remote islands. It's quite difficult to control the the palm oil companies. So you may well put restrictions in, but how are you going to get there? 1,700 islands, I think we saw up there. And the poor rural communities in Sumatra and a few other places also use the rainforest for firewood as their main fuel source. But deforestation will continue if it can't be controlled. So that page, read it several times. It's really important, okay? Then you work your way through section A, and you can now answer questions on section A if you want to. And then you can come and look at the stuff in section B, and you can see you've got graphs here. So it shows you the amount of forest between the tropics of 1915 and 2015. So you can see here what's going on in terms of deforestation. You've got a figure here on money promised and paid for rainforest conservation by Norway to Indonesia and Brazil. So some countries are paying to stop deforestation. Which is it's a really good way for emerging economies to get their money without chopping their rainforest down. So then look, you says study figure 2. Look really carefully at this, and you can answer the questions on A, you can answer the questions on B, and there, for example, is an explain 1, explain 2 global actions that can protect the rainforest, and that is CITES and RED. So refer to what you have learnt, okay? You could also mention that some countries like Norway will pay emerging economies not to chop down their rainforest. Then in section C, we will come back to a little bit later, but look at the resource before you answer it. So you've got some maths to do here as well. Calculate the value in dollars. Explain one piece of evidence from figure 5. So it tells you where to find the answers. Look at figure 6, 7A, 7B. Explain 2 reasons why the rising global demand for production shown in figure 7 has led to deforestation and loss of biodiversity. So you will have the answers pretty much in the booklet. Look for them, hunt for them, and then remember the revision that I put on for you in the other 2 videos. You've got more explain, suggest, and then you've got an assess here. Assess the environmental impacts of exploiting the rainforest. So you need to present 2 environmental impacts of exploiting the rainforest, and you've got pictures that you can look at for that, but it's basically talking about the loss of services provided by the biosphere, i.e. regulating the atmosphere, and the loss of biodiversity and habitat, and possibly the future loss, therefore, of cures for different diseases, etc. And then you have to decide overall what is the greatest environmental impact. Okay, don't forget climate change runs through everything that we do. So there are the resources that you would have for section C. Look, it shows you, you can see the loss of biodiversity and the animals that are going to die as a result of it. Okay, again, it said look at figure 7B, didn't it? And here you've got things, a graph to compare things. Everything is there. Everything you've done in paper 1 and paper 2 will help you get through this paper. I told you that palm oil was in all sorts of stuff. Look, it's very scary, and it is the main reason why the rainforest is being lost in places like Indonesia, and that the orangutans are at risk of extinction. Another assess question. See, so they're always explain, assess, explain. Assess the reasons why people disagree over who is to blame for the rainforest. Look at figure 10. Have a look at figure 10. You've got various reasons here. Why do they disagree? What is the most important reason why they disagree? Okay, all the answers are there. And then you get to section D. Okay, but be careful, because you all think section D is the most important one, but you've already built up the most of the marks. Remember, you've already got, 50, I can't do the maths. You've already got 54 marks out of the 64 banked at this point. Okay, because that's 32 just for section C. So now you're going to get suggested 3 options, and you've got to choose what the government should do. Should they prevent any further deforestation but allow oil palms to grow on land where the forest has already been removed? Should they stop oil palm production completely and attempt the regrowth of the rainforest and restoration of the wildlife? I mean, that's not going to help their economic development, is it? But they're trying to manage the palm oil industry. Encourage further production of palm oil in order to increase Indonesia's exports and help economic development. Which option do you think they should choose? Justify your answer. Use information from the booklet for your answer. but remember to explain why you rejected the others. Now, I'm going to say something really important. You should consider long-term needs, not short-term needs. This is about your understanding of climate change, the greenhouse effect, development, the use of resources, and the impact we're having on the planet. It's about you understanding how important the biosphere is in providing us with life-supporting systems, regulating the atmosphere, regulating the hydrological cycle, and soil health. You need to think about the needs of the people now in Indonesia, but balance conserving resources and the planet for the future. So, based on that, I would assume, pick an option now in your head, you have chosen option 1. Okay, you may as well carry on the development on what's already been removed, because secondary rainforest is never as good as primary rainforest. That's really important. I don't think they can just regrow the rainforest. I mean, they've still got to make money, haven't they? People have got to have a living. And actually what you do not want to do is further the production of palm oil. They need to find other ways of raising money, which may be through agroforestry, ecotourism, or exploiting more of their offshore oil reserves. So the final thing I'm going to show you is your writing frame. So I have chosen option 1, blah, 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 copy it. I believe that the government should choose option 1 because the reason they should choose this option is give a number of reasons, facts, info from the booklet, as well as your own knowledge. I don't believe they should choose option blah, 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 because they should also probably not choose option blah, 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 because the best option, remember, meets environmental and socio-economic goals. So it protects environment while supporting the quality of life of the people in the country and their economic development. But it is about long-term needs versus short-term needs. Right, this is it. It's the last paper. Paper 2 was quite difficult. This is, although the fieldwork section I hope was okay. This is where you can really pull your marks off, but you have to be patient and you have to really use the resource booklet. Okay, there's no reason why you cannot all get a 5 Changes Lives at least on this paper, because the information is there and you're drawing from everything that you've already revised for paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, so this is AB Does Geography signing off for the moment, but I will be back, and I will be back with other shorts and possibly other subjects as well. All the best. Good luck. You've got this. Bye for now.